little less for wind, mate, but your elevation's spot on. And he sent the second one and he got this thing right in the head. I was watching through the scope. Well, I was absolutely ecstatic. He didn't even flinch, didn't even move. And I was like, yes. But there was something about that M40, the look, the stock, the whole thing. And I was like, man, this is cool. Yeah, we probably now can rechristen it the long vacation or the long break project.
Yeah, it would have been 5.5 years ago or so when COVID kicked in, and I started doing daily live streams. This would be pre-Josh.
Yes. I remember the daily live streams. That was a big morale booster for everyone because we all because there was the sort of the group chat thing afterwards where everyone would just talk shit, which was really good, because everyone stuck at home was like, yeah, how's it going there? How's it going there? Everyone was, just like wanted to know what was going on, but all the people that you'd only ever see at matches, but because the matches were happening regularly, it was great. You look forward to catching up with the team and your mates and that sort of stuff, but then you couldn't. So everyone's like, I really miss those guys. Like I haven't seen Jay in ages, and I mean, no homo, but I miss that dude. So that sort of it was good. It was really good. So that was the silver lining of COVID, I suppose, wasn't it?
There was lots of interesting silver linings from COVID. Josh got a job out of it.
I'm here because of it.
Well, here's to COVID.
here's to COVID. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Good or bad.
This has worked out pretty well.
Right. There was some drawbacks.
There was some, people dying. There was a bit of it was the dark side of it, but no, there's plenty of drawbacks. Like,
that's it. Let's start the podcast off by summarising the
downsides of COVID. Thanks for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start by summarising all the downsides of COVID.
I'm gonna just finish this one, man.
That's it. Pour a fresh one, mate.
Well, Ben Jarratt, you are with us. Thanks for joining us.
That's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It's been a long time. You've never been on this show, but you're on the previous podcast we were involved with.
Yes, that's right.
And you range from various locations and reasons and stuff, but currently working for Wedgetail Industries.
Yes, currently the business development manager for Wedgetail Industries, which is a job with a broad set of roles. But it's so I've been doing that for since March.
Okay.
And prior to that, I was over at Breda, as you know, but no, Wedgetail's the new endeavour for me, which has been really good.
No doubt we'll get onto some of that because that's the reason you're in town and the reason
it is.
Josh is sitting in that chair tonight.
It is. I'm back again.
Yeah, welcome back, Josh.
Thanks.
Maxwell is currently in New Zealand.
He is.
On his honeymoon.
Funny tidbit of that. I saw his Hilux driving up the road today, and I was like, I thought Maxwell had gone by now. But anyway, I still just did like the flash. Saw on Instagram like 20 minutes later and went, he's already in New Zealand. So I sent her a message and went, whoever's driving your Hilux just got flashed like a madman and probably went, what the hell?
Right. And did he come back with no one's meant to be driving my Hilux?
No, apparently people are meant to be driving it. And he's like,
okay, that's a positive.
They would have been surprised by that. And I was like, yeah, I bet they were. To do it in another four-wheel drive, like, hey!
That's it. Their retinas are cooked, but,
That's fine. It's not my problem.
That's right.
So I've got the big question for you, Ben.
Yes.
Long gun project. It's been a long gun project.
We probably now can rechristen it the long vacation or the long break project. That is it's interesting. That's the I'd say it's the downside, but it has been a casualty of moving full time into the shooting industry. Working for a large company. So I went and worked post COVID. Worked for Beretta Defence Technologies.
So we'll just wind back for a second. Yeah. So the Long Gun Project was a YouTube channel you set up and
yes,
and
arguably, technically it still is. It still gets a view every once in a while. Okay. All the videos are still there.
Yeah. Still making bank.
Yeah. Not that it can be monetised because it was decided by YouTube that guns are bad and you can't monetise that. But it still gets a few views and that sort of stuff, which is good. But I ideally do want to go back to making videos because it lights up that creative part of my brain. but you sort of think, oh, I'm now going to go on, I'm working for Beretta Defence Technologies. This is great. I'll be doing lots of trigger time. I'll be, have all these great toys. And arguably I did. I had a very broad range of stuff.
Yep.
But you actually don't get that time to sort of, just go, right, I want to make this kind of video because I think it excites me. The viewers are going to be excited, that sort of stuff. You become so time poor that the first casualty is the things that the luxury things that you do with your time. And turns out that spending time making YouTube videos was a luxury. And
it takes time. It takes serious time.
Well, especially when I edit. It take me a day to do a shoot, but then it takes me about a week before I'm like, yeah, okay, that's good enough to send, So
Mate, we've been the same this year. We started the year out with great intentions.
We had fantastic intentions.
Made a bunch of videos.
Yep.
Did all right for a while. And probably the only thing that's really stuck around in the longer format is this show. And genuinely, if we didn't have this, which I'm glad we did because I enjoy it, we would be probably making we do other marketing materials and stuff like that, but there's more that we like, and so I can relate to that where things get busy and you're like, we haven't made a full length informational type video, which is one of Josh's words, for a while.
It's the planning, the filming, the editing, and then you got to watch it back 3 times and go, now that's the one. That's the one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I because it's been such a long time, I actually went out the other day and tried to do some filming and that sort of stuff. And I it's been so long, I'm like, I'm forgetting camera settings, I'm like getting banding on my footage and all that sort of stuff. I'm like, this is absolute dog shit. And I was really down on myself and I'm like, does anyone even want to watch this sort of stuff? Like, is the subject matter right? And then I sort of got to remind myself that I didn't ask myself those questions when I started the YouTube channel.
True.
It's like, look, the subject matter will be whatever, and it's there as a creative outlet for me, not really much more. So maybe I don't need to worry so much about, is this what the viewers want, as opposed to the viewers will either decide whether they want to watch it or not.
You make it for you.
Yeah, make it for me, and then everyone else can get to enjoy that if it's their jam.
Yep.
It's probably what a lot of people miss really in that creative area is it's so a lot of people focus so heavily on, I've got to make what people are going to watch, rather than I want to make something that I like to make and do it because I think this is cool. And if other people think it's cool, awesome. Yeah.
And I was also a bit sort of worried that my format was becoming a bit cookie cutter, because I would sort of, do my intros with some face to camera and then we'd talk about, something, whether it's the application of long range shooting disciplines or to hunting scenarios or, a new product or a rifle or whatever it was, and then you go out and shoot it and that sort of stuff. And then you do a wrap. And I was like, that's boring as shit. I should be doing something different. And look, I've actually got a collection of replica military sniper rifles because that sort of tickles my brain. So I've got a Parker Hale M82 clone, and I've got a US Marine Corps M40 clone, which is absolutely mint. M24 clone. So I've got the Sarco TRG 42 and 338 lap.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, well, all of these rifles have some operational service at some point in their time. Maybe I need to try to find out what was maybe not the longest engagement, but what is the most interesting engagement scenario and that sort of stuff, and then try and replicate it. So I've been kicking that idea around for a while, and it's like, look, that's probably a bit interesting.
I'd watch that.
Yeah, look, I mean, if you're into rifles and firearms and shooting and that sort of stuff, most people have a passing interest in sort of military firearms and their application and that sort of stuff. And the history, and it's the story behind,
of course,
what you're trying to sort of recreate. That's the interesting part. It's not actually the part, me pulling a trigger. That's not really that interesting. It's sort of
cool to look at.
Well,
but it's not
it is cool to look at, but I mean, probably more importantly, like if you can't replicate the shot, then what you're actually doing is sort of really demonstrating that what was achieved was quite
impressive.
Yeah, quite impressive, really remarkable stuff. So that's sort of been this concept I've been kicking around. It's like I really need to do that. I have to block out some time and potentially just take some leave to do it, because if I don't, I love working at Wedgetail and that sort of stuff, and we've got a lot of stuff that we're very, very busy doing, but I probably need to dedicate a little bit of time to sort of getting the long gun project back up and running.
Get that creative outlet flowing again.
Yeah, that's it. But I mean, we had the last couple of days we've been able to do a bit of that, which is thanks to you guys. So that's
we've been a bit creative.
Yeah, that's I was gonna draw into that. That's why you're in town at the moment, because you don't normally reside in Adelaide.
No,
not these days.
No, not anymore. Not anymore.
But you've been over here with Josh predominantly, filming for Wedgetail.
Yeah, we have.
So and there's something hiding behind Josh there as well, which is probably
just over his shoulder.
Probably a little bit different to the normal Lego we have sitting there.
A weird looking F1 car.
Yeah. There's enough carbon in it to be an F1 car.
True.
So all carbon and alloy. Yeah. So that's the new Orion Hunter. That's our new bolt, our first foray into the bolt action market with Wedgetail, which is a bit of a lane departure for the company. It's predominantly known for pump action AR pattern rifles in 308 and sort of 223 and trying to blackout, and prior to that it was all sort of semi-autos and suppressors was sort of the main lane of business for Wedgetail. So this is a big step for the company. But I think it's going to be one that is going to finally make Wedgetail products saleable in all states, because that's the other issue, is that we've got some state-based restrictions around the appearances and that sort of stuff of the AR style. Yeah. So,
It might be a silly question, but what sort of prompted this to be on the agenda? Has it always been a part of the plan, or is this sort of something that's come into the talking? And obviously probably predates you, I imagine.
Yeah, it does. It does predate me by a bit. Yeah,
these things would take years in development, but I'm curious sort of how you've ended up with that in the mix.
Yeah, so I mean, it predates me by a little bit. So the founder of Wedgetail, Alex Knott, and I have known each other for nearly 10 years. Wedgetail's 10 years old this year.
All right.
So
relatable to that.
Yeah. That's a similar timeline.
There you go.
This year as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, there you go. So, Alex founded Wedgetail, and our other director, Richard, he came on about 4 years ago. And we've since had another director come on since then. So the company's grown and expanded, and it's Melbourne based. But one of the things was, the semi-autos are very, very niche in Australia.
Of course.
So there's obviously our relationship with Lithgow and Talus and the production of the ACAR, which was a Wedgetail 223 semi-auto rifle, but it's very, very niche. Very few shooters use or are eligible to use a semi-auto. The pump actions were an adaptation of that platform, and it lends itself well to that, to make a pump action that's available to recreational shooters. But again, it's still, because of its appearance, it's so heavily restricted in terms of which states it can be sold in. So this was really about diversifying the range of products to, and when you look at the volumes of products and that sort of stuff, I mean, everyone's got a bolt action rifle in their safe. It's in some way, shape or form, whether it's a rimfire or centerfire.
The pump action would still be somewhat niche, not only for the locations you can sell it to, but also people wanting a pump action is perhaps far more limited than bolt.
Yeah.
Okay.
The bolt action's such it's really versatile. It's good for like almost every hunting scenario, and it's been used in almost every hunting scenario in Australia. So, the pump action, doesn't necessarily lend itself very well to anything done off a bench or, shooting off a supported sort of rest and that sort of stuff where you got to lift the gun and pump it and then put it back down again and that sort of stuff. And it's not to say that pump actions don't have their place, but they are a little bit more niche, and the appeal of that style of rifle is a bit more niche as well. So the guns sell very well, but it is a very, like, it's a pronounced sort of demographic that are looking for that kind of rifle. So bolt actions arguably have far broader appeal. They're all states saleable, and I will admit that some of my influences sort of, helped, sort of facilitate the move towards bolt actions.
Yeah.
And look, I think, like that's really something that Wedgetail needed to, as a company needed to sort of step into that space. I mean, it's highly contested. Like it's a tough market to get into. But
that's true.
But I guess from a company side of things, being able to sell stuff countrywide is probably a big draw card.
Absolutely. I mean, and there's some vulnerabilities in having guns that look the way that the current crop of Wedgetail guns look like.
Yep.
It's arguably, it's potentially a more dangerous, I wouldn't say dangerous, but there's some risks in having guns that have a particular appearance, and it doesn't take much for regulations to change.
Yeah, this is not from an actual use point of view. This is from a regulation and perception point of view.
Yep, public perceptions shape, political will, and that political will can be, driven by, 10-second soundbite on the news. So, it doesn't take much. I mean, if we look at the Adler as an example, it didn't take much. It was one YouTube video caused that to go from a category B to a cat D and cat C, depending on the variant.
Yeah.
And it's like, so there are some vulnerabilities in guns that sort of sit in that space that, either a particular appearance or a particular style of function. And look, bolt actions are a very, very safe sort of, style, and in terms of appearance and function.
Yeah.
But, arguably if you want to be, a firearms manufacturer, you've got to have something that the majority of people are looking for when they go into a gun store and they're looking to get into hunting or just shooting at the range, whatever it is. So so that was I guess the bit of the sort of backdrop against which that decision got sort of based.
Yeah.
So
yeah, okay, very
Exciting
good
stuff.
And Josh, you've been out the last 3 days with Ben.
We have.
Filming with the new Orion.
The Orion, yeah.
Yeah, okay. How have you found it?
It's overall windy, but that's probably more the conditions than the actual rifle.
Okay, yeah. Glad you
Apart from the wind, because that's just, like, I can still hear it now. It's still going in the ears.
No, that's
buffeting wind.
That's the air conditioner. Yeah.
Oh, no, okay. It's still following us. It's still following us. No, it's been very good. I mean, I got to have a couple of shots with it myself. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't really done a lot of hunting, but having, handled it, shot with it, all the rest of it, moving around the past couple of days, like it's just nice. It's enjoyable.
I think so. I was out for one of the days of filming.
Yes,
and
that first day.
What I've enjoyed, and I believe it's happened again, but the property owners who have come with us. So we've been on properties, and we've not known these people, or you guys haven't known these people that you've gone to the property of. You just sort of been connected with, so used as a location, rocked up, and then sort of put it in their hands. And so the day that I was there, the gentleman that was kind enough to let us use his property and show us around became the new ambassador
Oh, yes, he did.
for Wedgetail Orion Dave was very happy to be in the filming and on camera and walking around with it. And I tell you what, he'd be like, he'd go for a little walk and we'd film the walk, be pulling up the gun. Man, it looked like he had seen something to look at down range because he was full commit, full send. He's like, this is a good gun.
Yeah, well, it is interesting. Like getting an idea of people's first impressions is always very interesting. Like everything, like even the stock design. It was a case of we want to design a stock that feels really good, it's very comfortable, under recoil, particularly for Australian sort of use cases. Like we've made this gun 3 kilos, not by accident, but by design.
I overheard you talking about that before. That initially it was a bit lighter.
Yeah. So we have a connection with Hardy Rifle Engineering in New Zealand, because we use their barrel extension bolt head technology in the cocking piece and that sort of stuff for our rifle because it's proven. He's used it for many years, huge range of calibers, magnums, you name it. So it's a really innovative technology, but we're not reinventing the wheel, and it's not something that's so new that people would sort of go, don't know if that's going to work or not.
It's not untested, right? It's got history behind it. I mean, Hardy's been around a long time, and Dan's excellent. Caught up with him at the Deer Expo the other week.
Great guy, great guy,
top bloke.
So we worked with those guys, and one thing I found was, because we did get one of Dan's rifles, and I took it out pig shooting out in northern New South Wales, and it's light, but for the New Zealand use case, it's ideal. Like it was short, it handled really well, it was light, and arguably for my use case of pig shooting out in Western New South Wales, it was too light.
Yeah.
So we're ripping around in side by side buggies, we're shooting like tens of pigs, and that sort of stuff. And, there's nothing, like you couldn't fault the rifle. Accurate, pointed really well, that sort of stuff. But because it was so light, it beat the living snot out of me. and I mean, I wouldn't say I'm dainty. I'm like 95 kilos. And you end up with a bruise on your shoulder and that sort of stuff. And at the end of the day, you're like,
that's right. We went out pig shooting.
Yeah. It's like, I don't normally get that from pig shooting, but that's not.
And you'll be 308.
Yeah, it was all 308. Yeah, and it's not because there's anything wrong with a gun. It's the use case that it's designed for is different. Like Dan
hiking up huge mountains and taking a shot at a deer.
Yeah, and honestly, like for that use case, for the New Zealand use case, where they're doing that kind of stuff, where they spend more time walking than they do shooting, it is perfect for that. And our gun would be far less suitable for that use case than here and vice versa.
I guess when you're spending a day or two hiking, you've got something that weighs 500 grams more. That you add that up over 6 hours, 8 hours of walking. That takes a toll.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the old army saying, ounces equals pounds and pounds equals pain, and you sort of go, it's like I don't know, you're on a selection course or something, and they get you to hold out the barrel of your steyr.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, that's not very heavy. But they tell you to keep it out there, and then they walk away for 40 minutes. And you're about 10 minutes in, and you're like, tears and snot. You do anything to drop the damn thing, because but it's like, it's only 500 grams. Well, you carry that thing. You hold it out there for a long period of time, and that weight starts taking a toll. The muscle fatigue and that sort of stuff really starts to add up. So for that kind of stuff, like the Hardy rifles are beautifully made for that purpose. But we deliberately design the rifles with with more weight, with a different barrel profile, different barrel length, that sort of thing to make it more user friendly for the Australian use case. I have to say, I've done a bit of shooting with it and these are the pre-production guns. The production guns are sort of still being built as we speak, but it's a really forgiving rifle to shoot. I guess you found that.
I found that too, because I guess I've done a lot of shooting with heavy comp rifles, a lot of sort of not smaller calibers, but like you're dealing with a 6mm that's on a 8 kilo rifle on a bench, doesn't move a lot.
Yeah, this is just we were saying before. Josh got hired during COVID, and then came in to PRS level and national PRS level, and that's what he got. That's what his introduction to shooting was. Like, this is normal.
That was the bread and butter. Like 8 kilos is great. 6mm with 8 kilos, beautiful. Doesn't move at all. So I mean, like for me, it was shooting 308 for the first time. Is you're like, okay, cool. Like I'm gonna feel this. Like you have this whole. This is light.
Shot a 308.
It's not the first time I've shot a 308, but it's the first time I've shot a lightweight 308.
Oh, right.
Especially offhand, because I don't shoot offhand because my gun weighs way too much to sit there and hold it like this. You're like, no, get me on a bench, get me on a prop.
Yeah,
so,
gotcha.
Jumping behind the 308, like I was surprised at that first shot that I took because I went, oh, okay.
That's what recoil feels like.
But that's what recoil feels like, but it wasn't that's what recoil feels like. It was like, okay, there it is. Cool.
I shot it as well when we were filming as part of it. And, camera on, grab the gun, you shot, and then I had to shoot. We were basically mimicking the same position with the camera mounted in the same spot, pulled it up, took the shot, bang, and I think we did another one. And it was only afterwards I thought, wait, hang on, I've just shot the rifle. What do I think of it? It was I found it really nicely balanced. Yeah, and that was probably the thing that I took away from it is that, often with a carbon fiber stock, even in a sporter barrel, you find that the gun wants to tip forward a little bit. Yeah. Which, is normal, makes sense as to why, right? So, normal, really light. And I sort of realised afterwards that I pulled this thing up, pulled it in my shoulder, closed the bolt, pulled the trigger. And because I was filming, I didn't really sort of pay attention to the gun. I was just making sure we got the shot. And I went, that is really nicely balanced to the point that I didn't notice.
And that's interesting, that whole you don't notice thing. Yeah. When we were designing the stock and that sort of stuff, one of the things that we sort of wanted was we wanted people to pick up the gun and actually not comment about the stock. Because most people will pick up a gun and if they like the stock, they don't even think about it. It's just there.
It just feels natural.
It feels natural. So they don't even comment on it. They look at other things. And that was something that we wanted was people to pick up the gun and sort of go, oh yeah, that's like we didn't want them to sort of go, oh, that's different. Yeah. We just wanted to pick it up and throw up the gun and go, oh yeah.
Yeah, because I've picked up guns that are lightweight hunting guns and you pick it up and you pull it in your shoulder and you're like, that's a really light stock, which translates as this is really forward heavy to me. Yeah. And they're trying to talk about the nice parts of it, which is true, but that's the offset. And I genuinely didn't even notice because you shot it, I shot it, and then I passed it off to Josh or one of the other guys. Yeah. And then it took me a few minutes. I'm like, oh, hang on a second. I should actually think about what I've just done. And there was almost no, I don't mean this badly, Ben, but there was no feel to it in that it was so natural that it was exactly what it should do. Therefore, I wasn't taken aback by it being so amazing because it just did what it should do, which means actually it's pretty good.
It's I guess and you're right. Like it feels, I think to shoot and that sort of stuff, it feels really quite natural and neutral to shoot that it's to a degree almost unremarkable. Like, and it's not which in and of itself is quite remarkable.
But I totally get it because that's actually what you want, right? You want it to almost be a non-event the first time someone shoots it, so they just go, well, that feels exactly how it should shoot.
Yeah. It shouldn't have a like a quirk or a foible or something like that where you sort of go, oh, yeah, because that's a bit different. Like that's unusual. It sort of has this quality or it has that quality. Like it, just shoots like a regular rifle. One
thing I did notice because I shouldered an hour or so before I actually shot it, when we sort of pulled it out to start with, I noticed that the cheek rest was much higher.
You did say that.
Yeah, I did. And I pulled it up and I went, that cheek rest is high in a positive sense, because so many guns we see, the cheek rest is more traditionally lower, and then you pull it up and you're looking at the bolt and you're like, well, I don't need to see the bolt to take this shot. That doesn't actually, I already know the bolt's closed.
Yeah.
I want to look through the scope.
Yep.
And in the setup, in fact, it was the setup that we're seeing on camera there, which is a little Night Force SHV sitting on it.
Yep.
I was looking directly through the scope, which I do know varies from person to person, how you mount it and all that sort of gear.
Yep.
But it was noticeably higher than perhaps many others would be. And then I mentioned that to you, and you said, that's very much by design. And you took me through the process you went through.
the long and rather tedious process that we won't sort of bore the viewers and listeners
with. That's the other long gun project.
Yes. Yeah. But look, it was definitely, I mean, all of, open sights, unless you are looking at using, something for dangerous game, and, you have fantasies of being Alan Quartermain, and you want to be daily fantasies of being Alan Quartermain. But I mean, not many, like almost no rifles are built with open sights these days and that sort of stuff. So having a traditional height sort of rifle cone on the stock that is designed for open sights makes no sense, because then you're trying to get a chin weld, which is absolute rubbish, because again, you don't really get the consistency that you want. So it was really about sort of making sure that we got that sort of height from the center of the bore line to the height of the comb right the first time, because we're machine Picatinny into the receiver, so it's got to have an optic. Like, I'm sorry for those of you who love open sights, but this is not your gun.
It's not the right. It's not the right one.
But look, it's I mean we mocked these up in 3D prints. Mm-hmm. So this is not something that we just sort of, it was all designed in CAD and that sort of stuff, but we printed it out a number of times, got the 3D print in, put it all together, life-size print, and then we literally gave it to everyone at Wedgetail and went, right, throw that up, tell us what you think. And we put the spacers on at the butt pad to make sure that people weren't going, oh, it's really short. Yeah, well, it's got no butt pad on it. But we did mock the gun up and went, right, throw it up and tell us what you think. What do you like? What don't you like? And the scalloping sort of at the back of the palm swell and the radius there, where the heel of your palm sits, is really quite pronounced. But what we found was that initially those, we sort of went, oh yeah, that's a generous sort of area for the heel of your hand to be. And then we sort of grabbed it and went, no, that ridge is right in the middle of the palm, like the heel of my, the fat part of my thumb, swell.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, well that can go. So we revised it, and we did, I think, 4 or 5 iterations.
Yeah.
At least 3 in print. Potentially, I think it might have been 4 in CAD, just to get to a point where people sort of threw it up and went, oh yeah,
yeah,
that's a ringing endorsement. If someone someone goes, yeah, that's good, like,
because they'll tell you the second something's wrong, but if they kind of go, yeah. Fine.
Yeah, in the same sense that most people will only comment in a negative way if they don't like your video on YouTube. There's plenty of people tell you you're doing it wrong, or they don't follow your maths, and you don't know how to add up. It's like, no, go back and watch my video again, numbnuts. but in the same sense that when there's something that's drastically wrong, people will straight away, they'll tell you.
Yeah.
Whereas we're far more likely to just give it the old thumbs up and roll on if it's really comfortable, if it's good, if it's a good fit. People, again, like we were aiming for, like it's so natural that it actually slips under the threshold of their conscious sort of attention to sort of go, oh wow, that's actually a really comfortable stock. It's like, no, it feels so natural that it's slipped under your detection threshold in that regard.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You make it just almost part of you. You just do it, and it's just part of you.
Ideally, yeah. That's that's that's
That's the goal.
That's the ultimate goal. Yeah,
It does it well. You just pull it up and go, yep, cool, done. Like it's probably the same thing. You shoot it and shot it and you just kind of shot it, move on with the day. And you don't really have the process of, I just shot a lightweight hunting gun. It's just like, cool, just did the thing.
I changing topics slightly, but filming for the gun yesterday.
Yeah.
Heard you had some challenges with flies, or was that today? That was today.
Today was flies. Yes. Yeah. No, the boys have a rich. Hey.
Been a series of things, really.
Yeah, pretty much. Sunday was wind.
Sunday was wind. I was
buffeting wind. So there were no issues with flies that day.
We got up there, and Josh and I had been filming for another company a few weeks ago, and we were remarking on how good the microphones were because we were out in mad winds, absolute mad winds.
Yep.
And we were shooting, and we were talking to camera, and these new microphones that we had got, you could hear like put a screwdriver down on the back of a ute and me talking, and you hear the clink of it. No wind. In fact, we actually were adding in wind to the edit to show that it was windy to explain how bad our shooting.
It was in the same shot of that though. It was you could hear the thing going down on the tailgate, but you could also see the box slide towards you because the wind blew the box towards you because it was that hectic.
Yeah. So we're talking about this wind, and then we got up there on Sunday, and I think I said to you, we were filming in some real bad wind the other day. Like this is okay, but the other day was crazy, and these microphones were really good. I was commenting on that, and then later in the day, I think I went to you and went, about this wind.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, the afternoon.
In the afternoon,
it was like this
last time.
It was bloody windy. It is amazing though. Just how good stuff has become in terms of the filming side of things, like the quality of the microphones. Having I've been using sort of like the old roadie sort of lapel mics and that sort of stuff with a wire and that sort of thing. And then Josh pulls this little thing out. It's like, I've just got a special magnet that just attaches to your shirt and just sits under there, and it doesn't matter if it doesn't record to the camera.
Yeah,
it'll record to that device.
Yeah,
and it's like, well, damn.
We just cost Ben some money
because I can tell you right now, those roadie lapel mics do not record jack shit to themselves.
The long and expensive gun project.
It's
you're welcome.
Thank you. Because those.
I'll send you a link later.
Yeah, I am going to need that actually. They are impressive.
Yes, they are.
But I mean, it's. There's so much stuff out there, like, the gimbal technology now, like all the different gimbals that are available, and they're all coming down in price and that sort of stuff. And it really is like that's a bit of an arms race in itself. Is all the the mounts, the microphones, it's the quality of gear is so high now.
Yep.
And
it's all peaking at a point where we no longer need it because we just put a prompt in. And we'll end up generating this podcast. You don't need to come back to Adelaide to do part 2. We'll just generate it.
There you go. Well, that saves a lot of fuel.
A lot of fuel, a lot of time.
That's it. Yeah.
You know what I've just realised though? The wind disappeared over the weekend every time we cracked some drinks and couldn't do any more filming. Because the second we went, all right, cool, we'll have a few drinks.
That's and then this wind's not giving up. So you know what?
Yeah,
starting to get dark. Wind hasn't given up. All right. Look,
it's time. Let's do some food.
Okay. Yeah. Let's call it, and we'll do our prep work for the next day, and then you sit down. You're dumping footage, loading it onto the laptop, that sort of stuff. Setting up guns with optics and stuff for the next day, and you take and you crack a beer while you're doing that, and then you're still like, oh, bugger me, like really, and I look at Josh look at me and be like,
well, this is us now.
Well, but I think we were very fortunate that we had like that middle day in our that sort of location with the deep canyon.
I mean, I was about to touch on that. We left from the first location.
Yep.
And that morning was beautiful. That was, still nothing. The sun was kind of out. Perfect. And then we got to the next location, and as soon as we came up one bit of hill, the fog kicked in. Well, there was one bit I remember. We came up the hill and it was just fog and went, okay, it's going to be one of those days, is it?
Yeah. Well, that fog you're talking about was then immediately became like intense drizzle.
Yeah, the drizzle started.
The drizzle started, and then it's like, okay, now we're into proper rain.
Yep.
It's like, oh.
The fog was fine. I was okay with the fog. It was like, if it's foggy on the top of a valley, let's go. This
it would have been really dramatic. Would have been quite moody. We could have done a lot with that,
We could have said we were in Finland. No one would have known.
Well, aside from the eucalypts, but yeah. But
that's
I mean,
what I asked for.
Yeah, that's it. But you're right. Like, strolling out of the fog and that sort of stuff, like it, ghostly sort of shadows of trees through the fog. Oh, it would have been really, really nice.
Yeah.
But Then it just became just complete rain.
I was even okay with the rain. I was okay, if the rain spits, that's fine.
Yeah, drizzle, light drizzle. Yeah, we can work with that.
It's when we got to meeting the property owner that we kind of pulled up, and I cracked my door and it opened just a tiny bit, and the wind just went, I'll take that, thank you. And the door just flung open. You went, hang on. This wasn't part of the deal. Wind, you were gone, remember?
Yeah. And nearly ripped the bloody door off. Yeah, that was, I was a little dismayed and was sort of like, okay, well, let's just give it a minute.
Yeah.
And patience was definitely a virtue that second day because, once that rain sort of stopped, it was just beautiful weather.
Oh, that was a well-deserved bakery run anyway. But
it was.
The bakery one to get over. You watch the trees go from swaying and swaying to finish your food, and it's just still moving, but not as much. And you're like, all right, that's our window. Let's go.
Yeah, time to go. But it was really, like that was a very deep canyon. Like, probably a good. I don't know. I'm worried about sort of saying how deep I think it was because I'll probably exaggerate. But
I don't want to know. I don't want to know how deep it was because it'll just bring back painful memories of how far we had to walk down.
Yeah, and the walk down is not really as painful as the walk back up.
The walk back up was a little bit brutal.
Mm.
Yeah,
I have to admit that. I got. Being 95 kilos, obviously I'm not doing much cardio these days. So
you did that day.
I did that day, and man, did I pay for it. That was a steep Yama. That was pretty bloody steep. But the photos and the footage really were worth the effort, I think. Yeah,
I think they will definitely be worth the effort.
I think so. And
I really hope the ones on the edge of that ridge, the ones that we all kind of went, we're dicing things here.
Yeah.
I hope they come out like a treat.
Yeah, I think so. I certainly hope so. It's sort of like, when you sort of feel some slight sphincter pucker, you're like, all right, well, look, I hope I don't die doing this. But
if I do, worth it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Totally worth it.
Josh sent me a few phone photos of the place, and the place looked incredible.
It was really, really dramatic sort of landscape.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was. I can't say we were disappointed with it. Like it was, spectacular. To be given the access by the owners and that sort of stuff. Very, very fortunate that they were so generous with their property and and Mark, giving us his time for that day. I'm sure he had better things to do than watch us sort of. That was awesome. Now let's do it again. But this time, don't like trip or don't suck at what you were doing.
I don't know. He had a pretty good time out there. I think he peaked in the morning. I think that was his day made. Didn't matter what we did from there on.
That cat.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the cat?
Of course
we can talk about the cat. That was a great shot. So
that was the morale boost we needed in the morning.
Yeah. So and I know we talked about this off camera, but for everyone watching at home and listening, when we got to this enormous canyon, just sheer sort of reddy brown rock face on the far side and that sort of stuff. We're sort of standing there. We're just talking through what we're going to do, and then who spotted it? Was it you or I think it was you?
No, it wasn't me. I reckon it was Sam. I reckon Sam pointed it out and went,
Sam, yeah.
Did that rock move?
That's right, yeah. So he's like, and we were sort of talking around, it's like, and it was sort of half hidden by sort of some foliage and that sort of stuff from a tree that was in the canyon. But all of a sudden, this sort of pure white cat, which is an unfortunate colour for a cat to be when you are living in a red rocky canyon, just sort of cruised out and just sat down. And we're sort of looking and it's like, that is definitely a feral cat.
Yeah.
That is 100%
It's not
a
too
feral.
many other things it would have been.
Like, that looks like a cat. It moved like a cat. It's a cat. And, of course we're like, this would be great for the Orion.
I mean, isn't this just wasn't this basically as like Sam spotted that as you were pulling the Orion out of the back of the ute? So you're like, no, it looks like a cat. And you're like, I've got just a viewing device.
Yeah. and then, but then we're like, okay, that's a cross canyon shot. So this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to take a little bit of calculation because we don't know how far it is. We ranged it. Mark pulled out his rangefinder and he ranged it like 330 yards or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I know what that sort of roughly equates to for 308 in mils, and I could have guessed it. Scopes in MOA.
Right. Yep.
I have no muzzle velocities. I've got no BC. I've got nothing.
These guns were brought out to film with.
They're brought out to film. Like they're 0 to 100 and they shoot great. But I hadn't shot them at any kind of distance. So I was like, and when I was zeroing them, I'm like, should I collect some data on this? I'm like, look, this is a hunting rifle. I'm going to be doing hunting sort of stuff with it, and we're going to be filming and that sort of thing. I'm like, nah, look,
we're not filming a hunting trip.
Hunting. So I was like, nah, look, it's starting to get dark. I'm going to go get home for dinner and that sort of thing. So I was like, nah, I won't worry about that. I've got 2 rifles here to zero and that sort of stuff. So I didn't do it. And of course, now I'm kicking. Fast forward to yesterday. I'm like, no, a few weeks later. So I'm kicking myself. I'm like, look, any other day of the week, if it was the only rifle we had, we would have absolutely taken the shot. But we really wanted to get it. So we're like, no, someone's got to have some data. And Mark's like, I've got my rifle and I've got data. I was like, right, you're in.
Let's
you're
go.
In. Yeah. So he ranged it. He dialed it, and fired his first shot. And elevation was spot on, but he was like 3 inches left.
Yeah.
And given the wind, like that was pretty damn good shooting.
It was a good first call.
A very, very good first call. And this cat, probably the first time it's ever been shot at, because it started sort of, sneaking its way up the slope a bit, and it was still moving. It wasn't going to stop, but it wasn't racing away.
Yeah,
and so we went, look, just little less for wind, mate, but your elevation's spot on. And he sent the second one, and he got this thing right in the head.
It had just come up. It was just straight through the back, just gone.
Yep. And I was watching.
Reminded me of the movie Face Off.
I was watching through the scope. Well, I was absolutely ecstatic. Mark Bear, like he was still watching through the scope. He didn't even flinch, didn't even move, and I was like, yes, and I'm slapping him on the back. That's fucking great, mate. Like, brilliant, great shot. Awesome, dude. Yeah, got it. Yeah, and he's sort of like looking at me like, you are way too excited by this. Like, and maybe I was. I don't think so. I think it was a completely understandable and appropriate reaction for the situation, because it was a hell of a shot.
Yeah.
Like, it was a cracking shot given those conditions.
Shot. Yeah, under the conditions. Like it was properly, like the wind was sort of blowing up that whole canyon. So it's like, where we were, it's like, yep, okay, we'd probably get a wind read from here, but like what's it doing right in the middle of the canyon at like, 100 metres above, like at the zenith of its path, like, it's going to be doing something different. There's a lot more air volume moving and that sort of stuff. It's like, he absolutely nailed it. Like great shot. Just, with a hunter weight sort of rifle. It wasn't a long range gun.
Yeah.
See, that reaction wasn't overrated because that just kicked off the mood, and then that gave us the boost to go down there and come back up again because that was no mean feat.
I heard a lot of whinging about the up and down nature of yesterday.
It was the up, definitely. I mean, for the scale of sight. I mean,
if you're walking down to go back up again to do take number 2.
I could have slept down there.
3.
Yeah.
I don't know what Sam's steps volume is, but on the way down, that clicked off the elevation needed for him to hit his step goals for the day.
Everyone definitely hit their step goal for that day. Like I said, I don't prioritise cardio, so I didn't actually assign myself a step goal. But if I had one, I'm pretty confident I would have met it.
Would have doubled it. Got it.
Yeah, that's it.
That place was glorious.
It was, and look, we were really blessed. The wind wasn't too rough. The sun, like, we were overcast all day, so that made filming any sort of given direction actually really, really easy because otherwise that harsh sunlight, like we had
Found
today
that on Sunday,
was just all the shadows become like so harsh, and it's like, ugh. How do we make this look good? Let's bounce some lights. Like, no, don't. I'll get sunburn underneath your nose.
That's what they're there for, just to tan those hairs in there.
Yeah, that's right, mate. That's right. So,
Nice. Well, to wind it back a little bit from Wedgetail,
yes.
I wanted to ask you back on the. You said you had replica sort of sniper rifles of various eras.
Yeah.
That was obviously a conscious decision to go and recreate those or to pick them up. How did you end up with that? I mean, I don't want to take away from the videos that you're talking about doing.
No.
But give us a little teaser on each of them.
Well, I'd sort of, with the military background and that sort of stuff, I've and shooting since I was a kid, like always been interested in.
You grew up country.
Country New South Wales. I would like literally deliberately skip school in high school, like double period of physics. I know where I'm going.
Yeah, you're going to go study some physics.
You're going to go and study some physics, and then that's going to involve me shooting some stuff.
Yeah.
So I would cut school and go shooting.
Yes, science.
And I'm one of these rare people where me goofing off and doing shit I shouldn't have done actually paid off in the long run. Kids don't do what I did, but like. If all the holes in the Swiss cheese line up, you could do what I did. So I grew up shooting and that sort of stuff, and was always drawn to the military. Did army for 20 odd years, and whilst I ended up doing combat engineering, was always interested in long range shooting and sniping and that sort of stuff. And when I was at Duntroon and that sort of stuff, I was like, my only 2 core choices was combat engineering or infantry, because I was sort of reasonably drawn to different aspects of both. But as an officer, you were never going to be a sniper. That's pure soldiering and that sort of stuff. And officers have different roles. So I ended up combat engineering, but was always interested in long range shooting and sniping, because of that the nexus of the two.
That's how we met.
Yes.
Yeah. You came and did a long range course.
I did. I came and did a long range course, and
all those years ago.
Yeah, God, and that was 2015, I think.
Yeah, somewhere.
Yeah, 2015,
16.
Yeah, 15 or 16,
somewhere in there.
Yeah, somewhere around there, and
around the time Wedgetail started.
It was, yes. Pretty much around the time that Wedgetail was born. And it was, and that was a great course. Like, obviously met Trent and a couple of other guys on that course and that sort of thing. And
a great time.
Yeah, it was a really good time. And a great location. It was a great course. And, so that sort of really, like, I'd already done a little bit of long range shooting, but never really understood it until I did that course with you guys. And from there, the long range stuff just took off for me. And so when I was on my first tour in Afghanistan, I was back in a place called Al Minhad. and it was partway through my tour. So Al Minhad was in Kuwait, and I think it was Al Minhad. It was in Kuwait. Camp Buring. Camp Buring in Kuwait. So it was a US base.
Okay.
And there were some US Marine Corps guys sort of cruising around and that sort of stuff. And one of them had an M40. It would have been an M40A3. And I was like, oh, that is so cool.
Yeah.
So I went up like a fanboy. I was a captain at this stage. I went up and I was like a fanboy. I was like, hey, mate, can I? And this guy's like, oh, hi, sir. It's like, just, mate, can I just have a look at your gun? He's like, yeah. I'm like, no, I'm just, honestly, mate, I'm really interested in it and that sort of stuff. Just, but we don't have these. We had the SR98, which was the AI. But there was something about that M40, the look, the stock, the whole thing. And I was like, man, this is cool. So, later on, I tried to like accumulate all the parts to get one built.
Yeah.
And I ended up I ended up finding a stock on used guns. Spoke to this guy and he's like, oh yeah, what are you going to do with it? And I said, oh look, I'm going to try and make an M40 clone. He's like, you got all the bits? I'm like, well, this is part of the journey to get all the bits. He's like, no, I got all the bits, mate. I was like, oh, okay. So he's like, yeah, I've actually built an A3 and an A5.
Yeah, right.
And he goes, but I've got all the bits for another A5. Like, do you want them? I'm like,
yes.
Just send me your account details and the price. So I got all the bits and then had Byron at, I was working at Beretta Defence Technologies at the time, and Byron's the one of the gunsmiths there at Beretta, and Byron does amazing work, and he built this thing from all the parts for me.
Yeah, right.
That's cool.
Wow.
Yeah, and honestly, like the only way that you would know that this thing wasn't issued by the US Marine Corps is if you check the serial number. Like it is
right.
It is that well done, and shoot, god damn, does this thing shoot? Yeah,
right.
Yeah, absolutely shoots lights out. And all I've done is just taken sort of the what is it, the M118 LR, like the standard sort of 175 grain Sierra Match King round that the I think Federal make.
Yep.
That's their sort of their service round, and I've just tried to sort of mimic that.
Okay.
And unsurprisingly, it works really well.
Do you have the same scope?
Yeah, so Schmidt and Bender,
Yeah.
same scope, same reticle. It's a really, really nice gun. And so I had that built, and I'm like, well, now I've got to collect them all. So
turn into Pokemon really quickly.
Turn into Pokemon, but with guns. So and then when I was still at Beretta, they had an ex-demo gun that was a TRG 42 in 338 lap mag, and it's like, well, that's seen a bit of service around the world. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
And it had it was a demo gun. It was marked and that sort of stuff. So they couldn't even use it as sort of like a dealer discounted gun to sell to a customer. So they're like, oh look, would you buy it? I'm like, I don't really need it. Like, oh look, no one else is going to buy it. If you don't buy it, it's going to be here for another 3 years. It's like, so potentially I may have played a little coy to try to give the impression that I was not going to be easily swayed, so that the price might have got a little lower. And look, arguably it did. And so then I said, all right, fine, I'll take it. So I then acquired that, and then I was like, all right, well, now what's next? Well, I mean, if you like the M40, then you've got to sort of pay some degree of interest to the M24. So, I managed to pick up the HS Precision stock for that, and then tried to sort of, build a 24-inch barrel variant or version of that. It's not 100% sort of replica, but I made up for that by camming the shit out of it. So I've got a really kick-ass cam job on that. And then I was looking for, and before the SR98, the Australian Army had the Parker Hale, and it was around for a long, long time. Timber stocked rifle, and it was originally sort of built on the Parker Hale TX 1200 target rifle, which was a single shot, but built on a Mauser action. So you could actually put Mauser M98 sort of bottom metal on it and make it an internal magazine, which is what the Army did. And that was the sniper rifle of the day. And the hard part is actually digging up any information on the history of the service history of the M82 in the Australian Army before the M98 Accuracy International or SR98 Accuracy International came along.
Yeah.
And so I was looking again, I've acquired parts and that sort of stuff, and I was looking around for more parts, and then this rifle came up, and it was a purpose-built replica, and I was like, right, so I called this guy. Turns out he's a Raffy, at Williamtown and that sort of stuff. So, and he's into shooting, and so unsurprisingly, we broke down pretty hard. and look, he was a great guy. And he's like, look, I just don't shoot it. I just don't shoot it enough and that sort of stuff. And I've got other projects. I'm like, all right, mate, well, I'll give it a good home and that sort of thing. And so I bought it off him, and it's a beautiful rifle, and it's got the original. I want to say it's not a P car. What are some of the other bloody? Actually, it might be a P car, but it's got a sort of a race dial, so it's calibrated to the cartridge.
Yep.
But it's early days long range scopes, so the crosshairs actually sit like off center, because when you were making your adjustments, the crosshairs moved.
Yeah, you're moving
literally moving the crosshairs. So it doesn't sit in the center of the scope. And it's like, this is weird. So that's how legit that is.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
crazy.
and again, but I know a couple of guys from the US and that sort of stuff, and in my sort of travels with BDT and that sort of stuff internationally, and going to trade shows and meeting guys who have got ex-US servicemen who have got time behind the M40 and that sort of stuff. So, I sort of want to spend a bit of time talking to those guys and sort of go, okay, maybe not the longest engagement, but what was the most interesting thing that you heard about one of these rifles being used in an operational sort of setting?
I mean, you can imagine some of the stories that there would be in relation to not just one of them, but like all of them. There'd be some very interesting things that you would hear. Yeah,
and especially for the US guys in Iraq in particular, like the stuff that those guys got into would be it was very intense and really some of it's harrowing, some of it's amazing. Like it's so you don't want to sort of recreate something that is going to be sort of I guess upsetting for people to sort of watch an Australian try and sort of recreate it in a way that's sort of entertaining and educational at the same time. But you want to sort of pick the right line. But I think people would probably find that kind of interesting. So that was the sort of the idea behind it. But I tell you what, there's a body of work just in trying to get the background information. So I don't whilst the Parker Hale M82 has been deployed operationally, I don't know if it was, and again, I'm probably going to have to call the School of Infantry and call the guys at the museum and that sort of stuff, talk to some of the olds and bolds who were around at that time who would be able to sort of shed some more light on it and go, right, was this in service in the latter part of Vietnam? Was it used? Was it, and it was probably deployed in Somalia. But again, was it ever used? Very, very difficult to sort of, get that information without sort of having someone with the personal experience to sort of provide you with some anecdotal sort of, sort of source material. So
have to go on a fact-finding mission.
Yeah. There's going to have to be a bit of fact-finding, which is probably going to delay the whole project further. But, but I think, look, some of that sort of stuff, I think will be kind of interesting. Like,
there's
history there. There's just seeing if it can, in a situation where you're not under pressure, when no one's actually shooting at you and no one's going to die if you get it right or get it wrong. Just being able to accomplish the same or a similar feat under similar in similar sort of environmental conditions would be quite interesting. But if you don't make the shot, like that just proves how incredible those sorts of things are.
Especially now, because if you were to use a current generation rifle to do it, you'd be able to do it without issue, right? In terms of the development of long range shooting has become so far that now an off the shelf sort of setup will achieve many of these things that you're talking about.
Oh yeah, it is. When people sort of go, oh look, 1,000 or 1,200, like the longest, for example, for the M24, like the longest recorded shot in an operational setting for the M24 was James Gilliland in Iraq. Yep. And I think it was in 2007. And it was a 1,250 metre shot.
Yeah.
And for a 308 with array style, he maxed out his dial, had to use, hold over and sort of, guess at the windage at that range. And got struck his target with a second shot. And it's like, okay, 1,250 metres with a 308 today is like, that's tough going. But if you were to use a 6.5 Creedmoor, that would not be a shot that you would run out of elevation for in most scopes.
For a 308 now with current generation scopes, in the 308, that's not the... It's a scope, a shot that you would have some confidence in making now, but that's not now. That's
no. I mean, 2007, that's
ancient history in this.
We're talking nearly 20 years, and that's a ways back.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even think 6.5 Creedmoor was even a thing then.
6.5 Creedmoor, was that 2000? It might have been 2007 actually. 2007, 2004.
Yeah, but I mean, 6.5.
Don't look at me.
Yeah, but I mean, the 6.5.
Pull your phone out and find out. But
yeah, but
I mean, I can.
Yeah, but you're right. Like, the cartridges that have been that we select now for that long range stuff, the 6 mils, the 6.5s, and that sort of stuff.
It is no. It's not even slightly to discredit what was achieved. No. It's not saying that.
Yep.
It is impressive. When was it, Josh?
Designed 07, produced 08.
So there you go. So it was being born at that time.
Yeah.
Which is and that's sort of we take for granted.
We do
we so do. The advancements and in many senses, and this is an interesting thing. Like industry pulls. Like the advances in industry and that sort of stuff really have pulled long-range precision shooting a long way forward in a very, very short space of time.
I remember going, the first time I went to SHOT Show in the US was 2017. And I remember going to that in 17 and you were searching for the precision rifle type gear, right?
Yes.
You were looking for it. You had a very short list of stands to go and look at to find anything.
Yep.
It was all, ARs and that sort of stuff. And then, Josh, you were probably the most recent visitor there. Maybe Ben, it was 2000. Was it this year?
It was this year. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't go this year.
Yeah. So you went this year and then I went previous year. And
I was the previous year as well, yeah.
It is everywhere. It is on it is so many more stands. It is on all the major stands. All the big stands have some element of precision rifle.
Yeah.
And so that's 8 years where it's gone from niche categories. You'd have a couple of stands that were dedicated to it. Sure, KDEX had a pretty big one and all this sort of gear, but you've gone from that to now it being such a significant thing. It's the development, the interest in it, and that sort of thing has been significant.
Which I guess
significant.
8 years is a decent amount of time, but not in the scheme of how long everything's been around. It's not that long.
I mean, that whiskey up there is aged longer than that.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a good amount of years, but I mean, it's been fast progression.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the way in which the information and social media's got a large role to play in this. The way in which the knowledge has been sort of disseminated, around the science that underpins long range shooting principles and that sort of stuff. Doing away with the whole old wives' tales, that sort of stuff. Social media performing something of an educational, guys like Brian Litz and Applied Ballistics and Todd Hodnett and all those, God, you sort of worry about leaving one out. But those guys, and leveraging social media, YouTube, that sort of stuff to essentially get the word out about, it's no longer a black art chicken bones voodoo and a 4-leaf clover in your left sock to make those kinds of shots. It's actually underpinned with some really, really solid science and that sort of stuff. And
I guess that's something I take for granted with me coming into it in the last few years. It's just you pick up the app and you go, all right, cool. This is all my information. And you go, I want to hit this distance. And you go, okay, I'll do that. And you pull the shot, and granted you get wind right, you get the wind right, and you go, I hit it.
It has been the thing that occasionally, like Josh has sort of set up a post for Scoped Out, and I'm like, whoa, hang on, this is there's a lot of assumed knowledge that we're putting out there in this one. We might need to just dial back or put some information. Yeah. I actually remember. So we met doing a long range course.
Yeah.
The precursor to that particular course you were on, I remember rewriting the entire course about 3 weeks out from, not from the course you were on, but from the precursor to that, the sort of 1 or 2 day courses that we were doing, because we had done it we'd written the original course in the very traditional way of targets at 100, targets at 200, 300, and learning that sort of element to then relying on ballistic calculators to actually sort of go and check and use this data. And literally from the time we had sort of started talking about doing one of these courses to the time we were running it, which would have been over a few months, we changed our entire approach of how we would shoot.
Yeah.
Going back to, when was this? This would be 2011, 2012.
Yep.
Yeah. And it was actually, we were about to launch this course and rewrote it.
Yeah. But I mean that whole education piece is so essential for that sort of stuff. But it has come such a long way in arguably like a really short space of time, and the knowledge is now really widespread for those who want to seek it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not hard. You jump on YouTube and you type in like precision shooting, long range shooting, and you just, the information is there.
Yeah. Do you remember Tibosaurus Rex?
I do remember old Tibosaurus Rex, Sniping 101.
Yeah, and do you remember this at all?
They were long episodes. They did 40-minute, 45, 1 hour, 20-minute episodes and stuff. And that dude could talk. Lovely guy from all reports. I think you met him.
I never met him in person. He was actually, so on our old podcast, what ended up being the Impact Dynamics podcast, I interviewed him.
That's
and it was one of the most interesting and highly rated episodes, but most interesting episode I ever had is because Rex was doing these videos, and he's all the things that you would assume about some bloke that just out in the middle of nowhere in America, and all he knows is God and guns, and that's about it. And
John 3:16, amen.
That's right. Yeah, John 3:16, 308.
Yeah.
And he put this YouTube video, which is, don't look at it, Josh, because you would be horrified by the video production.
I'll be back in an hour and a half.
No, you won't. You'll be back in about 14 weeks. So he put so many videos out about Sniper 101 and basically how, and he taught probably, of the long range community, probably a quarter of them learnt from these video series of how to do it. And then he ended up with a cancer battle. Which, so he was, prior to that, he was super, super skinny. You'd see him sort of in photos of these videos. He didn't have a front of the videos. He'd occasionally be in photos. And then, he went away and ended up interviewing him afterwards. He was a stockier dude afterwards, but he was an amazing interview, and that was a really good episode. I thoroughly enjoyed that. It was probably one of our longest as well. We talked for hours. And it was like Joe Rogan level of time frame.
Super interesting guy.
And with all the general anti-government sort of challenges and thoughts and stuff. But that aside, he in fact he was actually lined up to come here and run courses.
Right. Interesting.
And I think they were going to be, I'm going to get the timing wrong, right? But it was like lined up for like May or June of 2020.
Right. Far out.
COVID.
Well, I have a question that will still relate to you.
Yeah.
So from the days where I guess the people that were making those sort of YouTube videos and the people that were putting the information out there, throw back those many years, it was probably more a labor of love as opposed to like I'm not doing it to get the views. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it because I enjoy shooting. Other people enjoy shooting. I want to get people shooting out far.
Yeah.
How do you find it now with the amount of information that is out there from everybody? Like, you've got credible companies putting out information. You've also got the random punter that goes, I want to make a YouTube channel. I'm going to make a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
How have you found sort of the information that's out there for people sort of coming and still going, oh, but I heard this, as opposed to, you throw back those many years and my guess is if you're watching the videos on it, the people that were doing it actually sort of, they knew their stuff because they wanted to teach people.
It's an interesting question because I think it's probably like, so I don't know when Rex's videos were, but they must have been, we must be pushing 20 years on it, right?
Yeah.
Like, maybe how old is YouTube? They were early. They were early YouTube days, right? So it was a very different world then, not only for YouTube, but also for the knowledge of long range shooting. And I think we've been through a couple of like instances now where now the knowledge base is so solid and so commonplace, and the rifles are so well set up. I mean, the rifle you get off the shelf now at the cheaper price point will do the things that they couldn't do ages ago. And so I think that the base level of knowledge for the long-range shooting world is just so much higher now that if you were a want-to-be YouTube creator to go and put up some stuff right now, you'd want to be getting it right.
Yeah,
because
otherwise
the general knowledge is, and so Ben's wandered back into the room, but you would be in, because when you were making videos 5-6 years ago, and how did you go with people being like sort of an understanding level generally?
I'd say that the understanding level was like 5 or 6 years ago was much lower. And the reason I say that is because I sort of started making videos about long range shooting because I was looking for videos on long range shooting and wasn't really satisfied with the information that I sort of got out of it. I called them bang and clang videos, like, oh yeah, I'll put a gong out at this range, shoot, ding, good enough, and they go home, and that's the end of the video. I was like, well, that's not usable for me. For someone who wants to learn more and develop my skills, like I'm hungry for information. I'm hungry to find out how you did it. And, even for me, having done the course with you, I was always hungry for more.
Oh, there's only so much you can cover in 4.5 days.
Yeah, that's right. It's a pretty bloody comprehensive course, but still, like you walk away being even more hungry for more information, to learn more.
More to know.
Yeah, deepen your knowledge and try and always try and reach further and that sort of stuff. So I'd say that that's where the response that I got from my videos was a lot of stuff around, hey, this is really great information. Thanks for making the video.
Yeah.
So that was really positive. But I guess the other thing was that if you weren't getting it right at that time, because you were working with your own limited knowledge.
Yeah.
That was far easier for people to sort of forgive and go, hey man, like I know you said this and that's kind of right, but and this would be in a comment, but it's kind of right, but it's worth checking out this guy on this subject for this thing.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay. And I kind of get the feeling like now, if I got it wrong, man, you would get absolutely roasted.
The comment section can be quite brutal these days.
It can be.
Yeah, back then people would give you sort of a guidance and a comment, but someone making content now in the long range world.
Yeah. I mean, now I get the sense that because the knowledge is so comprehensive, it's so clearly defined.
Yeah.
The science is really, really hard. Like it's well, I would say it's not hard as in difficult, but like it's, there's, the science is really clear.
It's less open to interpretation these days because
very much so, because it's been so thoroughly tested in the real world that I do get the sense that if you get it wrong, your comment section in your videos is going to be far less forgiving. But
what was your original question, Josh? I've forgotten.
I've forgotten too.
Yeah. But it's something like that. Like I think the quality of the content generally would be far better out there now if you are coming into it fresh. There is much better. I mean, obviously, the usual sort of disclaimer: check your sources, look at the general vibe. I mean, there was stuff like, and this is what we found. So we were running those long range courses, and then we stopped running them, and it did not take long for me to feel behind the 8 ball.
Yeah,
and so we were at a point where I had one guy. We were only a small little sort of setup, right? But I had one guy, if you remember, Dan.
Yep.
He was doing a day a week just on R&D, right? For whatever we wanted to call that. He was shooting for a full day, testing ideas, testing theories. We were obviously reading heaps of books and trying to stay up with it. We felt, I don't know if we were on the cutting, we didn't have the budget to be on the cutting edge, but we weren't far off it, right? We were learning as much as we could. We were trying our own ideas and doing things in a way that we could own the results.
Yep. Yeah.
And put it into practice and learn it. And it did not take long for us to sort of step back from doing that and you go, man, things are progressing so quickly.
Yeah.
That, and you start, and that was probably just on that tipping point of, like the bigger companies starting to get involved with new guns, sort of, like towards the end of that period for us, the Ruger Precision came out. So, Ruger, a pretty large company, part of a large company, dropped a, sort of, not entry level, but entry level for what it was.
Yeah.
Sort of gateway into the long range world that was capable, very capable.
Yeah, very capable gun for the price. It was.
Tikka dropped the A1.
Yep, TACO 1.
TACO 1. And so that was sort of just starting to come to fruition of like the bigger companies putting some time and effort into it. Room for improvement at that point. But and so, I've very quickly sort of felt, oh, we are now behind it.
Yeah, like it's like anything. It's hard to stay at the bleeding edge.
Yes.
Of that sort of stuff, and I guess in a lot of ways, I would draw some parallels between trying to stay at the bleeding edge of F1 technology and long range shooting. Like it is
just with a few less zeros on the end.
Just a few less zeros. Not many.
Correct. They talk in weeks, though. I think long range talks in months, perhaps.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So you do.
But yes, I get it.
But you've got to, like, if that's where you want to be, if you want to sort of stay on the forefront of that, like, the time and energy and effort that some of these larger companies with some big budgets and access to significant levels of technology can get some amazing scientific lab quality hard data in very, very short spaces of time. Like if you look at what Applied Ballistics does, if they want to test a bullet that they've come up with, they'll just go to their lab and, they can get something, CNC, Swiss CNC machined on a lathe and then, load it and then shoot it that afternoon.
Yeah.
And then they can model it. They've got the BC all mapped out and that sort of stuff. They then check that against what their radar says, and then it's like, okay, well, I guess that's now hard data. Like that's and I mean even simple things like just sort of going, oh look, I want to shoot 22 rimfire comps, and you go, oh, how do you get BCs for 22 rimfire projectiles? Well, Applied Ballistics went and did that too, and devoted 3 pages of a book to here's a laundry list of reasonable quality ammunition, some good, some really good, and some arguably budget. Ammunition that you can that you've got BCs for, and it's like, well, damn, okay, I guess I'll use that. And the problem is, it's what would say it's the problem. The best part is that it is like solid data. Like you just plug that BC in, and then you actually get a muzzle velocity for your rifle, and then you're off to the races. I
mean, I did that when I first got the 22 that I'm currently running. It was chuck the SK long range in there and went, all right, cool. Zeroed it, plugged all the data in that was just already there. Like, yep, that's the bullet I'm shooting, and ran it out. And you went, cool, 100 meters. And you went, all right, smack bang on, 150, 200 meters. I was like, cool. And this was just testing. And then you were like, got out to 300 meters and went, ding. You're like, yep, all right.
And I definitely remember before that book came out, you get 22 and you're like, all right, let's see how we go here.
But you were shooting out into the unknown, and then sort of hoping to see some splash, make some adjustments,
work your way backwards,
and then sort of reverse engineer that. And look, it was doable, but
worked.
And it did work. But again, you then sort of like, oh, okay, well, if I've got a muzzle velocity, is the muzzle velocity accurate? Well, then can I reverse engineer a BC from that? Well, I can, but then I've got to have the ballistic app to do it, and that sort of stuff. Like it was. You had to sort of know the process forwards, but also backwards if you needed to reverse engineer it.
This makes me feel really lazy for just being able to go, that one, dial, bang, oh, a bit of wind, bring it this way, done.
I mean, I didn't want to say it, but
See,
I sensed it.
And I'm pretty sure it was the same when you came and did it, but like our long range course, you did the 5-day one, but we did like a 1-day one, and we would very intentionally, but we'd sort of start out the day on day one or the single day, and we would go through the process, sight the guns in, talk about some shooting sort of skills, all this sort of gear, step by step by step by step, 100 meters, and then have lunch and break for lunch, and sit there, cook a barbecue, chat away, all this sort of gear. And I often would comment, I'm like, so how are you enjoying the long range course so far? And guys are like, yeah, I guess, they're learning stuff, this sort of gear. And you're like, yeah, cool. And you're like, great. And then, pull everyone back from lunch. You're like, great. All right, guys, next shot at 800 meters. And the looks, from many of the participants who sort of, and this was around the time, we would have expected. Now it's different. Now this is standard, right? But it wasn't then. It wasn't common. I'm sure for some areas it was, but wasn't common generally. You'd be like, okay, well, let's go to 200 and let's go to 300 and work our way up. And you go, guys, next one here. And you'd almost, particularly on the 5-day one, where you'd almost pre-program their data for them.
Yep.
Like, great, this is what you need to do. And then they'd dial it, and then they'd shoot it. We'd guide them on wind, and then they'd be hitting a 25 centimeter target at 800 meters.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, holy crap, that's the furthest I've ever shot. And you'd go, yeah, now we're going to break down how we got that, right? But you needed to do all the work at 100 to then be able to get that result at 800. Because if you couldn't do it at 100,
you're never going to get it at 800. That's right.
Exactly right. And I know now for many people listening, like they're like, that's how you do it. You're correct. It is how you do it now. And we all understand this now. But back then, that was not, the reactions from people was priceless.
Yeah. I had a similar reaction from she was a full colonel, female in charge of the capability acquisition group which is known as CASG, down in Melbourne, based down there, but in charge of so their role is all about acquisitions for defence and that sort of stuff. And I was working for Wedgetail at that stage, and we'd had a particular unit had contacted us and said, "Hey, look, we need a proof of concept 6 mil ARC." And so, yes, of course. So we obliged. Wedgetail is one of its strengths is we're small, which means we're pretty agile. So we're able to pull that together really, really rapidly. And then, of course, I got it, took it home. And 6 mil arc ammo was like all you had was Hornady 103 grain, 108 grain. So got some baseline from that and went, right, it was specified it had to be a 14 and a half inch barrel, and it had to be suppressed. So it's not a long barrel. And it's like, okay, I'm trying to find that sweet spot in terms of bullet weight, but sort of, flattening the trajectory as much as possible without sort of sacrificing, too much in the way of drop and that sort of thing. So I started mucking around with 90 grain projectiles, 87s, all the way up to, back up to 105s and that sort of stuff in the 6 mil realm. And so I had a couple of different ammunition types worked out, and they all shot really well. Some of them didn't, but of course you scrap those. You're not going to, show that to Army, right? So we're up in at a range day on the Lithgow range, and obviously Wedgetail has that relationship with Lithgow, so we were up there, and I was there as the Wedgetail representative because we had suppressors on all the guns, and we had the 6 mil ARC, and said to this particular colonel, like, ma'am, would you like to come and have a shot? Oh yeah, no worries, great. And she's been trained. She has shot 5.56, 223s out to 300 metres because that's the standard infantry rifle and standard sort of engagement distances that everyone gets trained at. Yeah. So she's she knows the fundamentals of marksmanship. She's in an office job, but she understands what she's doing. So she has, you would say, the baseline marksmanship training across Army. And I said, all right, you can see up there's like a 50% IPSC sort of torso target. I didn't tell how far it was. And she's like, oh, yep, no worries, I see it. I said, okay, I'd like you to dial this on the scope, and then I'd like you to just hold on the left-hand edge because there's a slight breeze. So good old-fashioned PRS, hold left edge and send it. and she fires a shot, whack, hits it absolutely right in the centre. She's like, oh, yep, that's great. And I said, yep, just do it again. Bang, whack, bang, whack. She's like, oh, that's great. I said, yep. And I said, look, that's the 6 mil ARC cartridge. I said, she's like, oh yeah, that was very pleasant to shoot, and it's obviously very accurate. And I said, have you ever shot anything at 0.5 kilometre before? And she went, well, no. I said, that's how far that was. She was like, oh wow, like she was mind blown. But it's like literally, like she was absolutely gobsmacked. I said, that is within the reach of your standard infantry soldier with this cartridge in this sort of format. But how do you get there? Like, you don't necessarily need to teach infantry soldiers all the
ins
sort
and
of
outs
long,
of that.
the ins and outs of long range shooting, but you can provide them with the data and the training that under the broadest range of conditions to employ that rifle out to 500 metres and achieve seriously precise results with it. And that was an issue that they'd found in Afghanistan, was that they wanted extended range 223 ammunition, so they wanted 77 grain and 73 grain ammunition to try to shoot further, because the distances were significant, because you could be engaged from another hilltop, but that hilltop's like 600 metres or 700 metres away.
Yep.
And that's the interesting thing. Like, it's not like the long range science has has only got applications in competition shooting and that sort of stuff. It is applicable to any competition, but also any sort of job description that actually employs firearms at any kind of significant distance. So that was really interesting to sort of introduce someone from Army who is still in uniform, to hey, congratulations, you just shot something at half a kilometre. And
the way you say it sounds even further. It's great.
When you say half a kilometre, like 500 metres doesn't sound like much. But when you say half a kilometre, it's like,
whoa, that's got the word kilometre in it.
Which is more, right?
More.
I'm going to start using that at the range. Oh, it's over a quarter of a kilometre.
That may be a tougher sell than half a clip. maybe. Look, give it a run. I mean, you never know.
Got some people that want to come out though. I'm going to pull the half a kilometre one and be like, yeah, that was half a kilometre right there, and watch the like.
yeah. For the uninitiated, that's actually something. So for the rest of us, it's like, come on, man! Like you're trying to fool.
Cool story, bro.
Yeah, do that twice, you've shot a K. Yeah. Very good, Ben. Well, mate, we've been ticking along for a little while, so thanks for coming to join us. We'll have to do it again. In fact, we should come up and shoot some old school sniper.
Look, absolutely. Look, the shooting.
You take some leave, I'll take some leave.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've got the shooting tower.
Yes.
At our little range out there and that sort of stuff, and we've got steel. A long ways out now. So, it'd be great. Be great to come across and actually make a video, which I haven't done in a long time. But thanks for having me in. Like honestly, it's great. It's been great. So
it's good to hang out and have you come and chat as always. Always full of stories, Ben. Always full of stories.
Always good times.
Yeah. Most of them start with no shit. There I was. But if you can get past that, I mean, some of it's actually kind of interesting. It's been a hoot. We've been this is one of those things where you sort of go like, yep, okay, I work in the firearms industry and it's far less glamorous than most people realise. But when you get to sort of do a couple of days doing what we've been doing with you guys, doing the filming and that sort of stuff, getting to show like a really cool sort of new product that we're excited about, in like some really, really fantastic sort of environments and that sort of stuff, and you get to do that creative stuff. Like it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
So it's and to cap it with coming and spending some time having a chat with you guys has been really good. So thanks.
I'm pushing it through because we need to get to the pub before it closes for dinner.
We do, because you don't want the kitchen to close. It's a weekday.
That's exactly right.
Just know it. Every one of those cool shots you see, there was 3 dudes after like 2 seconds after the camera, I was going. Why did we do this?
I'm going to need you to find some sort of Gentle Breeze number 13 or something like that out of some sound files to cover the sound of me wheezing.
15's the magic one. We got you covered.
Is that the one you used the other day?
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah. To edit that wind noise back in.
Yeah.
Generic
Breeze number 15.
On that noise, we'll finish it off.